Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family. So, guys, there's just a lot happening with the virus situation. So, I wanted to touch on some things kind of quick and just go through some updates. This one's making the rounds. Everybody's talking about this. Coronavirus could infect 60% of global population if unchecked. Wow. Okay, that's a big statement. That's a huge statement. And what we see here, this is an epidemiologist that's saying this as well. And this is the other point that really gets to me. So they say other countries should adopt China-style containment measures. That's a scary statement. When we see everything that's happening over there in China, his warning comes after the WHO said recent cases of people that have never visited China could just be the tip of the iceberg. Wow, this is huge. And, Cindy's laughing over here because, now she's feeling like she's going back to her original feeling, which is that, and again, not saying that people aren't dying, but saying that this is more about control.
To me, they have to make these videos that are coming out of China look really, really good because they want us all to buy into the control thing. So it has to look good. It has to look morbid. It has to look real. It has to feel real. So that's where I'm back at that now.
I think I don't know. I am looking at the videos, and maybe I'm a sucker, but I'm feeling like they're real. Of most of them, coming out. But we all have our opinions on things. Although I do agree that this is looking more and more ominous, as far as this can be the thing which, obviously it's a health threat in and of itself. It's also something that, again, is just taking that one world government to an all new level, and, led by the WHO. And, we're all going to go on a medical martial law lockdown, basically, is what it's kind of looking like. And that's what they're recommending here, pretty much. Professor Gabriel Leung, chair of public health medicine at Hong Kong University, said the overriding question was to figure out the size and the shape of the iceberg. Most experts thought that each person infected would go on to transmit the virus to about 2.5 other people. That would be an RO of 2.5. What we're seeing is, from what we have seen, is more of a 3.5, 4.0, and some are saying it's even higher than that. But so those numbers gave it an attack rate of 60 to 80%. 60% of the world's population is an awfully big number, Leung told The Guardian in London en route to an expert meeting at the WHO Geneva on Tuesday. And then he also talks about the fact that the death rate may drop down to about 1%. And then if you run those numbers, that comes out to about 46 million dead. If you look at it running 60% of the world's population. You guys could double check my math. I did it just super quick without a full cup of coffee. But quickly ran through that. And so, in line with that exercise, that was run in October that showed 65 million deaths from the next big one that comes out here. So, and right here is where it talks about even if the general fatality rate is as low as 1%, which Leung thinks is possible once milder cases are taken into account, the death toll would be massive. So, if they want to emulate what China is doing, then that's pretty scary. And it's super scary when we look at what's going on. And we are going to look at that a little more deeper here. So here you have coronavirus. A Peruvian died of this disease in the U.S., and his body was repatriated to Peru. 72-year-old Peruvian, I should say woman, died from coronavirus in Los Angeles. And the body was repatriated to our country, TV Peru reported. And this was back on January 17th. So
again, they're using this generic term coronavirus. What if it's just the basic flu?
Yeah, well, they're saying that this was that nasty strain that we're fighting over in China and elsewhere right now. I understand. And here's just another one talking about the same thing, just to show you that it's not just one little outlet. So somebody died in LA, according to these sources, back on January 17th, of this virus. That would change everything as far as the timeline over here. And we don't know how many people that person came in contact with, and his body was sent back to Peru. So talking about China and having everybody be like China, and that's really what this, if we look at people like Ben Fulford and others that have been talking about how the powers that be, the families that we've talked about, they want power to be just like China. They want the world to be just like China as far as the massive police state, the big brother on steroids. So China's massive security state is being used to crack down on the Wuhan virus. And as you see drones, we talked about that last night. And they talked about severe punishment for people that, are not going along with quarantines or try to leave quarantines, as we've seen. And here you see authorities in the northeastern province of Heilongjiang went even further. According to state-backed Beijing News, they put an announcement warning that the highest sentence for endangering public safety by intentionally transmitting the coronavirus is the death penalty. The central government followed suit Saturday, announcing that a raft of medical crimes would carry severe punishment, including execution, potentially. And so is this really how they want everybody else to handle things? Complete lockdown. Again, we've seen people that look pretty damn healthy outrunning police, and then being tackled. Here we see that they just found 13,000 people that were testing positive in Hubei, and again, they're not. The numbers are so far off. We really have absolutely no clue, even best guesstimates. And the type of numbers of the investigations that they carried out here are huge. As you see, they carried out comprehensive investigations, including 17.486 million person-to-person times in village communities. And so obviously, they checked an awful lot of people, and it's just mind-blowing what we're seeing here. And then, of course, we hear about the military has mass quarantine camps set up in the U.S., and of course, we don't want to see a replay of what's happening here. And here we see the Russian Foreign Ministry, the coronavirus has reached Africa. So they announced to the press that there were many cases of the coronavirus on the African continent. Well, okay, that just came out of the blue, so CDC mistakenly removed San Diego's first positive coronavirus case from the hospital. Oops. Yeah, it's amazing what we're seeing, how things are being handled, how they were handled by the WHO, and they moved so it felt purposely slow, and then all of a sudden go to full-blown panic. That just seemed false. And there's reports of more than one person being put in body bags because there's such a shortage. And if you only have 1,300 people, why are they rationing body bags if there's only 1,300 dead? And this one's horrible because it does appear that it's little kids in there. And again, that raises suspicions from some, as she's nodding her head there. Cruise ship refused entry by fifth port due to coronavirus fears. And that's a horrible thing. That's a Holland America cruise ship was refused entry to Thailand. This is the Amsterdam. This is a ship I was actually on. Yeah, it's a beautiful ship. Beautiful line too. But yeah, cruising may not be in the future. So we'll see when we get all this over with. When is that going to be? The WHO gives coronavirus official name, and and says a vaccine is 18 months away. The illness is now known as COVID-19. COVID-19. It makes me think of covert operation. So COVID, which stands for CO, corona, VI for virus, and D for disease, is what they tell us. China's online censorship tightens grip after brief coronavirus respite. And we have virus storytellers changing China's official narrative. And this is Chen Qiushi we've talked about. And, the official numbers we know we are just so far off. It's almost not worth looking at. And then just some unusual things. Here we have blood-smeared mail delivered in the Allegheny area. And this is the second time in 4 years residents of this area received envelopes, packages, and other mailed items stained with blood from a U.S. Postal Service carrier. That's most definitely disconcerting in these times. And here's a did you know. Psychiatric hospitals can still force patients to accept shock treatment. One Connecticut patient has been shocked 500 times in 5 years. Yeah, what I would view it as medical torture still is ongoing. And you got to wonder, we've just lost so much of our ability to speak our minds. And how many people in the past were sent to places like this simply because they weren't completely understood. And perhaps some of them were intuitive empaths. Some of them had psychic abilities. And perhaps they really were seeing dead people because, they were intuitive and they had that ability. So many people actually do have that ability, more than you would think. And yet, they are labeled things as paranoid, schizophrenic, etc., and just locked away and tortured for the rest of their lives. And with everything we see going on in this world right now, it's scary. It really is.
No, that really is scary because that's something that could have happened to me very easily around the wrong influences. I could very well be there now.
And as I shared with you, Cindy's a very strong intuitive empath, and she really has seen dead people since she was a kid. And I've had experiences as well, and very empathetic as well. So, it's one of those things where you could be locked away for it. Depending on, again, the circumstances. Very scary stuff. So I want to thank everybody that's supporting us over on Patreon in these times of censorship. It keeps us going and enables us to actually do these things and stick our necks out there. As it's apparently getting to be obvious that, everybody that speaks up and utilizes their free speech is becoming more and more of a target, obviously, and also on Ko-Fi as well. Thank you guys so much for your support. Stay prepared as always. As always, prepare for the worst, but hope and envision the best. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.